We're going to step back to that open door. Have a seat in the red chair. I'll be right back.
Okay.
You're trying to right?
No, I'm trying to figure out a place to put it where it's not going to interfere, but that's fine.
No problem with that.
Okay, so you're Detective Huron and you're...
This is Detective Sepulveda. She'll be sitting in as a witness.
Okay, excellent.
So again, my name is Detective Huron. I'm with CID, Criminal Investigations Department.
Okay.
Detective Sepulveda, she's assist with the witness today. Today's complaint of officer misconduct and misrepresentation.
Yes,
from my understanding.
It's cold out there today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So before we get started, I'd like to read to you a perjury warning.
I understand you've got to do it.
It's process. Requires that all complaints against law enforcement officers be placed in writing and signed by the complainant before the complainant may be considered by superiors as a basis for disciplinary action against an officer. It is understood that complaints sometimes consist of intentional fabrications and misrepresentations against law enforcement officers and various reasons. For this reason, the Attorney General of Texas rendered, in his opinion, March 31st, 1981, concerning perjurious complaints against law enforcement officers. Who is this? Under Texas Penal Code, a person commits a perjury if, with intent to deceive, with knowledge of the statements, meaning he or she makes a false statement under oath, swears to the truth, or false statement previously made. Statement is required or authorized to by law to be made under oath. A statement means any representation of fact or official proceeding means any type of administrative, executive, legislative, judicial proceeding that may be conducted before a public servant authorized by law to take statements under oath. A statement is material if it could have affected the outcome or official proceedings. My signature is to acknowledge that I have read or have had explained to me the contents of this document. I fully understand its explanation of perjury and aggravated perjury pertaining to any fabrication or misrepresentation I may give in the statement concerning law enforcement officer. Do you understand?
I absolutely do.
Would you like to read it yourself?
No, that's fine. I understand the form, and I'm going to point out it's hypocrisy. It's not directed at you, but for my video.
No.
It's ironic to me that an officer is not subjected to the same perjury when he lies in court or gives false testimony in court, but a person who complains about an officer is. I'm not worried. I don't lie. I have the evidence that I need to.
Yeah,
but again, your officer, what he did was completely out of line.
And that's what we're going to talk about today and make sure that we get
right.
this addressed and corrected. Signature, printer name, and date.
Yes, sir.
Okay, right here, right here, right here.
Good. I mean, and again, I am frustrated, and I apologize if that sounds like it's directed at you. It's not.
No,
I
sir.
understand you're here. Today is the
5/2021.
5. Sorry, my handwriting
No,
is
your
terrible.
frustration is not going to offend me in any way.
So
That's what we're here to discuss. Thank you for your signature.
So,
So to continue with formalities, jump over to the next one. This is the information statement. So I'll keep talking for me if you have any questions. So this here is the information produced by you, your name, address, phone number, any witnesses, which it was just you, and possible other officers, which I'm gonna have to look into. So there's gonna be nothing here. We're gonna go with NA and the statement of your allegation, misrepresentation, officer misconduct, so and so, and then a brief description of what you're gonna describe today. The signature and date of yourself, and check if you refuse to sign, which I don't see you refusing to sign.
good. So.
So,
Sorry.
I'm north of Laredo
I'm just checking the timestamp.
east of Zarzamora, not exactly.
Okay, name of officer. I was never given the officer's name. I was provided a badge number. They still refuse to give me his name. So I do not know if the badge number that they provided me is accurate or not. I just know what I was told. I know which vehicle it was.
how do you pronounce your last name? Reese?
It's Reese. Yes, sir.
Mr. Reese. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Tell me about this date.
Okay, to start with, just let you know what I do and why I believe this officer recognized me and why he targeted me.
Okay, tell me about yourself.
I'm a rights activist.
Okay.
I'm not out to get officers in trouble. I'm out to make sure that people's rights are protected.
I understand.
On this particular day, I was taking a long walk. When I say a long walk, sometimes I walk 15 miles a day. I usually have a cane or a walking stick because I do have balance issues.
I would think because of all the stray dogs.
Well, I'm not worried about dogs or people. I'm very personable. I speak with everyone throughout the city. So on this particular day, the reason I didn't have out my body camera, I don't typically take out my body camera unless like for something today. I had my audio recording because I was going over case law for Hayes versus Florida regarding a SAPD incident.
Okay.
That didn't need to go to internal affairs, but the officers needed to be trained because they were threatening to take someone to the magistrate to ID them, which they can't do. So I was going over that, making notes to myself while I was walking. I walked south of your property. I was heading towards downtown at this point.
Okay, were you on or off property?
No, I was off the property. I was on the Apache Creek Trail.
Okay.
And I walk that all the time. I mean, I walk everywhere in the city. As I passed your property, to be honest with you, I should have known that this is what it is, but my main activism in the last 4 months has been the removal of unlawful gun signs because of some issues with citizens being threatened with arrest for carrying in police stations. You guys are school district police. I'm not even messing with that because you can't have a gun on a school. Why would I even?
And that's why
I asked you the same thing.
I really appreciate that.
Just making sure. But again, I'm like, why go to school? I went to all the precincts in San Antonio to make sure the officers were educated before the 1st of September. That's the type of activism I do.
Okay.
So I do have a YouTube channel. I do get catcalls, threats, things like that from officers all the time. They don't appreciate what I do. I get that. But I'm not out there trying to get officers in trouble. Again, I'm out there to make sure people's rights are not violated, officers are educated, and that as a city, we're not getting sued by other people. So anyway, I'm walking down the street. I'm making notes to myself about Hayes versus Florida. And so I have this recording device out because I take long walks, I make audio notes, and I go over it later. As I'm going by, I notice 2 officers are in the parking lot. And again, I didn't know it was your parking lot at the time, but they keep bribing me with their lights. Now, in hindsight, I can go back and say they may have just been parking or circling. That's what those 2 officers may have been doing.
If you're walking along the backside, so you're here, what is the street? Navidad, right, you're at the corner.
Yeah, Navidad. I'm on this side of Navidad. I'm
right behind the fence line.
Right.
Okay, so where are the officers? Are they on the that east parking lot, the newer looking paved area?
No, they're like in a dirt area that's right back here.
Okay.
It's everything's on this compound. So these 2 officers, not a problem with. However, because of in the past I've had issues when officers start spotlighting me. I mean, I wear the same Camelback all the time, and with my cane, and I usually wear the same thing here. It's kind of for me, it's like, look, if officers know who I am, they're not going to come up. Either they're going to or they're not. But if they know I'm a rights guy, they're going to avoid me like the plague most of the time.
So you believe they recognize you?
I believe for certain the one did. There's no reason for him to have approached me and to misidentified himself if he didn't. So anyway, the officers that were in the parking lot, they lit me up and I noticed it, so I turned on my recorder, and at that point I guess I'll let you listen to it.
I will.
It will make a lot more sense just going into that. At this point I turned on the recorder because I just felt like something odd was going on.
So I'm gonna keep going back to you. You're talking, I'm gonna stop you, I'm gonna go back. I wanna make sure I get the details on this. When you say they were lighting you up, were they using the spotlights?
No, these officers did not use their spotlights. They were turning their cars and facing their headlights at me with the brights on. Again, in hindsight, after I talked to the chief, he said, well, maybe they were concerned that you'd be stealing catalytic converters. I know you guys have had thefts. Again, I understand that, you know, if that was the case, but again, my issue at the point where the officer pulled up and I'm outside the gate and he blinds me with this light and he's saying, you know, can I help you? And I'm like, can I help you? And I think you'll hear it. I don't want to misspeak, but it's on here. I'm like, he's like, well, you're looking over here. I'm like, yeah, these guys just, you know, blinded me. I'm looking over here. Who are you? I already knew the other guys were SAISD because I saw that. I mean, they weren't, you know, they spotlighted me and they drove around. And I'm like, I don't know what they're doing. They don't have any jurisdiction over me, so it probably isn't anything to do with me. I mean, that's, you know, either way.
So this contact, right? There's the fence line, there's the street. At any point, did they cross the fence to go contact you?
No.
Or everything was through the fence?
Everything was through the fence. This is Apache Creek Trail here. This is your driveway. It comes in.
Right. Said this is the driveway.
And your two officers were back in this area over here parking. When I was walking, I initially noticed that they spotlit me at that point.
Okay.
When I noticed they were turning around, at that point I said I better turn on my recording because I saw this third guy pull up, and I'm like, this guy's definitely, I mean, he's coming straight at me versus these guys are in the back.
Okay.
Again, at that point, I'm on this side of the fence. He pulls in this way, and
so he comes off the street, pulls in.
Right.
Okay.
And again,
so there's the building here, and then it goes into the dirt, all this dirt area.
Right. And these officers are in the dirt area.
They're in the all the little parking slots here.
Right.
Okay. So this driveway. So this officer pulls in here, and at this point, you are where?
At this point, I was actually further back towards like where the dirt area is. There's a tree out there.
Yes, sir.
And I was near that tree at that point. When they first spotlighted me, I was further back, but again, I was walking. When he came up, I was by the tree, and again, that's when he approached me, and you know, his first comments, I'm like, no, is there something I can help you with? And then I can't see who he is because I'm being blinded, but
you're being blinded by these guys.
No, at this point, they're not engaging me at all. I've already walked. This guy's the only one engaging me.
So he came in and he's blinded. So he's got his headlights on you this way.
His headlights aren't. And I don't want to say this for a fact. It might be because his headlights did blind me. I know that my vision. I have bad
night vision and glasses are pretty.
And also I know that in the fusion reports, they know I have bad vision and bad hearing, which is another reason why I felt like he probably targeted me because he saw I was squinting and he goes, oh, this guy can't read who I am. That's how I feel. It may not be the case. So he pulls up, he asks me, you know, can I help you? And I'm like, is there something I can help you with? And he mentions, I say, yeah, well, I'm walking, these guys blind me with their lights. And then at that point, I'm like, I knew who they were, so I asked him who he is. And he says he's SAPD, and I'm like, okay, maybe something's, you know, different is going on here. But I'm like, no, that's not the color configuration for SAPD's car. And so I start to look, and
from your recollection, what is the color configuration of the car that was addressing you?
At that point, I could not tell other than the fact that I knew it was an officer. Because the lights, and as my vision started to adjust, I looked. I asked him, I said, who are you? The car says police, I can read that. And then he said he was SAPD, and within seconds of him saying that, I knew he was full of manure at that point.
Okay.
Because, and at that point, I'm sorry, but when an officer crosses that line, you already know there's nothing good gonna come from this situation. If a guy's gonna lie to you about who he is, there's no telling what's gonna happen next.
I understand.
So, let me play that for you, so
Let's
my
go.
memory
Yes,
is.
I would like to hear this.
So I'm north of Laredo Street, east of Zarzamora. Not exactly positive of the location. I would guesstimate 300, maybe 400 yards east of I'm sorry, I said Zarzamora, but
Okay, so here,
it's running.
I'm sorry, I'm just gonna let you know. At this point, I walk these trails all the time, but it's night, and I can't really tell. I know I passed a park, but I couldn't tell where I was. That's why I looked back.
You were actually correct. You're east of Zarzamora.
Right, but now I wasn't sure, so I looked back and I'm like, is that really Zarzamora or not? So that, I mean, I'm just letting you know
So
why.
you're just kind of battling yourself with the
That
location.
way is
Right.
Zarzamora. Oh, it is Zarzamora. Yeah. So I've had a couple of drinks. I don't give a fuck. But
So-
I'm at the apparently San Antonio ISD police lot. As I walked by, got like spotlighted like 6 times just because I'm walking. And as a person who's just walking down a public sidewalk, that's unusual. So obviously, my description has been put out through the Fusion Center to all the police departments in the area. I'm hoping I don't get too much grief from the officer or officers who have flagged me. But
At this point, I was
Oh,
concerned,
yeah.
I'm sorry, at this point, I was concerned about the 2 officers who were circling the parking lot. I hadn't yet seen the guy who actually pulls up,
Okay.
okay? And,
it's the school district police. They don't have fucking authority anywhere else. I got one pulling up to me now. How you doing? Is there something I can help you with? I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. Oh, I saw an officer come by and he shined his lights in my eyes, and I was like, why'd he do that? So this is, sorry, it says police and it says San Antonio. Who are you? Oh, you're San Antonio Police Department? Wow.
Can you?
What's your badge
yeah,
number?
so as you see, when I say wow, that's when I realize at that point, when I'm going, no, he's not SAPD. Yeah, I can rewind it, let me just, and again, I can rewind it at any point.
Wow.
Okay,
What's your,
hold on.
who are you? Oh, you're San Antonio Police Department?
And again, he says that's what it says, and he's, you know, and I'm looking, again, my vision is getting adjusted.
Wow. What's your badge
I'm
number?
sorry. It would be,
Department? Oh, you're San Antonio Police Department?
so his comment is, yes, sir, that's what it says.
Wow. Police Department? Oh, you're San Antonio Police Oh, you're San Antonio Police Department? Wow. What's your badge number? I'm sorry? I don't. I'm sorry? I don't.
When I asked for his badge number, San Antonio Police Department's policy is that when officers contact you, they identify by name, and he hasn't done that to start with. I don't know your department's policy, but,
All right.
You don't need to know it.
right. My policy, if I talk to officers, if they approach me, I always ask their name and their badge number, because that tells me how that officer is going to react. I mean, if like, do you need to know it? That already tells me this is a hostile encounter. If an officer isn't willing to identify himself, there's a reason for that. Now, he's already told me he's SAPD. He said, that's what it says right there. He sees I'm squinting trying to read the car. And when I said, wow, that's the moment I knew that was a dirty officer.
Okay.
And that this guy is the type of guy who is going to do something inappropriate.
I don't need to know it, but you contacted me.
I'm asking a simple question. I'm not interrogating you or anything. I have to back it up.
Okay, well, I mean, you just identified yourself as San Antonio Police, but,
That's what it said on my car.
well,
And again, that's what it says on my car. That's the third time he said it.
well, yeah, you, well, but,
That's what it said on my car.
And again, the third time. Now, I'm going to tell you, I am 99% of the time polite and respectful with officers. You're about to hear me go off on this officer. And what I said is not polite or professional, but I'm angry.
You're not gonna offend me. I
well,
understand.
yeah, you lying piece of shit pig. 1501, San Antonio ISD, you are not San Antonio Police. Don't fucking bullshit me. Fuck you, you lying pig. You're asking me if you can help me, but you lie to me?
How am I lying to you?
You said you were San Antonio Police.
That's what it says right there, right?
No, it doesn't. It says San Antonio ISD. What does ISD stand for?
Help you with.
Yeah, it's D. What does ISD stand for?
Help you with.
What's ISD stand for?
Help you with.
What can I help you with? Okay.
Okay, he's asking me this, and I'm just giving you context. He's changing the nature of it to the officers who are walking up. The two officers who were in the background before, at this time are approaching. Now, I don't have a complaint against those officers because, in my opinion, they did what they needed to do as officers. They walked up, they saw this guy was out of line, and instead of supporting him, they walked off. But they should have reported him for what he did. Instead, I mean, you know how that goes. Nobody's going to make waves. They probably went over and laughed about it, went, oh, that dude lit him up, he deserved it. But he's making it seem like everything's fine to these two officers. They're walking up and they're acting, and he's acting like everything's fine. And it's not fine as far as I'm concerned at this point. At this point, I'm telling you, if I was on the street somewhere, if that chain link fence hadn't have been there, this is the same type of officer who could also very easily in court say, he reached for something and I used lethal force against him. And who are the jury going to believe? This officer or me? I guarantee you this officer did not have his body camera on, and he should have if he was making contact with me. And if he didn't, you have to ask yourself why he didn't. Because again, I don't know your department's policy, but there's reasons those policies exist. And you know, you hear it all the time, officers. An officer's worst enemy is not me out there with a camera. An officer's worst enemy is a bad officer making you guys look bad. And I'm sorry, but that's the truth. And this makes me very mad. I mean, I spent 3.5 months working with the San Antonio Police Department to educate them so their officers were not making mistakes that could be corrected through education. It wasn't about getting them in trouble. Bike Patrol unlawfully arrested me for fail to ID. I didn't try to sue. I don't do that. That's not what I'm about. I educated them. I made sure their lieutenant went through the police academy and passed that word back down. And on this night, I'm out making notes to go back over to give them proper evidence or proper tools if they have that in the future, so they don't do what police departments have done in the past, which is we can fingerprint you down at the magistrate, and they get away with it, but it's not legal. So again, when something like this happens to a rights activist, you got to understand, I know really what's in my opinion, I know what's in the back of this guy's mind. And even if it's not in the back of his mind, I'm going worst case scenario here. And I'm going, you know what? This is ridiculous. This is how and why citizens get hurt or get killed. And they go, how did nobody report this? When I reported it and the chief knew about it, and Sergeant Whitlock says something's happening, but nothing's really happening. I can't tell you what's happening. And I'm saying, why won't anybody tell me this officer's name? How can I make a complaint against an officer? He refused to identify. I had his car. The next day, dispatch gave me his alleged badge number again. I don't know that he's Officer 1144. I know which vehicle he was driving. I know what time he was driving. Someone else told me it's Officer 1144. I don't know that. He refused to identify me.
That's something I'm gonna look into. I'm gonna find out exactly who was
Right.
driving this car at that time. That badge number, looking at it, it does come back to an officer, but I'm gonna confirm before I give you his name, if he was indeed the actual man driving this vehicle. Now, if that is the case, I'm gonna conduct my investigation, get all my information. I would like a copy of this.
Yes, sir.
Because this is crucial to the complaint.
Yes, sir.
All this is gonna be forwarded to the chief of police with my evaluation and investigation, and he will contact you either by phone or letter. You know, it could be in verbal or in writing. I noticed that you didn't give me an address.
No, I'll give him an email address.
That's fine, we'll take him your email address,
Okay.
just because, he just may not have time to give you a phone call, but type up an email and shoot you an email.
Right.
With the conclusion of, his investigation. But on my part, I'm gonna find out who is driving this vehicle to make sure that this badge number that you have provided is, the actual officer that was driving. And if that's the case, then he will provide that information to you.
Right.
Which at this point, you will have nothing to hide from me.
Right. So going back to what I was saying, he's at this point trying to, he realizes he's messed up and he's just trying to get out of the situation. So, the other officers are approaching.
Be honest. Why are you even confronting me?
I asked if I could help you. You were over here looking at the parking lot.
And what did I ask you?
That's not normal behavior.
That's not normal behavior? How about this for normal behavior? Middle finger to you for fucking lying to me. You're a piece of shit for lying to me saying you're SAPD.
I never said that.
You did. It's on recording. Here you go. You lying piece of shit. 1501 is your fucking unit car. You refuse to give me your badge number.
Is there anything we can help you with, sir?
Yeah, you can tell me your name and your badge number. You don't want to give me your name. You approached me, I didn't approach you. So fuck yourself. You don't like that? Fuck yourself twice. This is exactly what I'm talking about when you walk around and fucking dirty pigs talk shit to you. You got a supervisor you want to come out? You want to have a supervisor come out?
There's no need for that.
Yeah, I didn't think so, because you know I'm right. You're wrong. And officer, what you need to do?
You're right, sir. Have a good night, all right?
You're exactly right. I am right. You were wrong to misidentify yourself. Dirty fucking pig. 1501, San Antonio ISD, saying he's SAPD. 118-6858. You are not a San Antonio police officer.
Okay,
You are
at that point,
ISD.
at that point where I'm reading the tags, he is driving off. And
Okay,
again,
that's his LP, that's his license
plate, that number, and again, what I'm saying, I asked him for his name multiple times, I asked him to identify multiple times. Each time it's, I'm not going, or whatever else. And again, when he says, how can I help you? And I say, you can tell me who you are. Don't lie to me. I mean, you hear the complaint, you understand it's legit. And again, I'm angry. Just hearing this makes me angry. I'm sorry, because I've seen, unfortunately, I've actually have had to go to court and prove an officer's words are not what happened. But this type of officer is the same type of guy who will get someone in court and give them a criminal conviction, and the court's going to go, oh, he would never lie. He's an officer. That's not acceptable to me, and I'm sorry. I apologize.
No.
I'm getting upset.
Your frustrations are, I understand. you're frustrated listening to that. That's frustrating. I would like to think those kind of words wouldn't come out of his mouth.
You know, when he tells me I'm walking down a trail and he puts a light in my eye and I look towards the light, that's not normal behavior. These are the types of things that officers use to escalate situations. Him saying that's not normal behavior, that's his attempt to escalate it into probable cause for something. I think you guys know that. You know the game, how this works. However, again, as you see, I'm mad at that point. I'm like, you don't think that's normal behavior? Here's normal behavior. And yeah, I shot him the bird, not once, but twice, maybe 3 or 4 times. I was angry at that point. You know, as I told the chief of police later that same morning, I walked all throughout the town. At about 5 in the morning, I was at Denny's downtown.
Yes, sir.
2 of your officers approached. They didn't get out of their car or anything. No problem whatsoever with them at that point. But when I was telling them, I said, when I say I walk all over, I don't have a problem with SAISD. I don't have a problem with the San Antonio police. As a matter of fact, I'm on good terms with 3 of the substation's captains because they realize that what I'm doing actually helps them. But again, what I'm saying is that when you come across something like that and you just feel like no matter what you do, yeah, they hear it happens, they know it happened, but nothing's being done. You know, and certainly like, well, what do you think should happen? And I'm like, at the very least, the guy needs to understand that what he did is wrong, and there's nothing he could tell me that would justify why he did what he did. There's absolutely nothing. Now, he may be able to tell someone else, and I'm sure by now he's got the word, hey, you need to come up with an excuse for what you did. Whatever it is doesn't justify it, but he needs to know, no matter what his excuse or line of thought was, that's inappropriate. If you're not misbehaving, you don't need to misidentify. I, as a person on the street, if you ask me my name and I'm not detained, I can tell you I'm Joe Schmo. No crime in that. If I'm detained and I give you a false name, it's a crime. But a police officer can lie to you, no crime. That's wrong. He misrepresented himself as a police officer with San Antonio Police Department. That in itself should be a crime. It should be impersonating a police officer. But that will never happen because he is a police officer. But if someone else did that, that would be impersonating a police officer. If my other line on that again, if I went down to internal affairs with San Antonio Police Department and filed this complaint against this guy without knowing what I knew, you know what they'd do? They'd go, can't prove it. Hey, that's not even our car. You know? And so, again, his intent, obviously, from the get-go, is what my issue is. Why start off by lying? If he had no ill intent, there would have been nothing wrong with him saying, I'm with San Antonio Independent School District. I see you walking outside of our lot. We've had some thefts. We're just making sure you're not a suspect. And I would have said, walking on the opposite side of a fence, okay, that's fine. I'm not doing anything. You have a nice day. I mean, that's how that would have gone. And honestly, I didn't think about the catalytic converter thefts that you have had in the past until the chief mentioned it. And that's when I said, that may have been why those other first 2 officers spotlighted me. And if that was this guy's concern, that would have been legit too, if he had said, I'm with San Antonio Independent School District. I mean, you heard me when I said, before this guy even approached me, I'm like, they're SAISD, they don't have any jurisdiction over this trail. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not worried about, you know, whatever.